Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today we are continuing on with the seasonal color analysis series, and we are going to be looking at our true or warm spring seasonal color palette. If you're new and this is your first video, you might be asking yourself, what is seasonal color analysis? Seasonal color analysis is where we look at people's skin tone, hair color, eye color, and how they relate to what you would find within the 4 seasons that we have here in the real world, and kind of how they would kind of fit into each category. So there are 4 dominant seasons. So winter, spring, summer, and fall. And then analysis, you'll have either 3 to 4 subseasons. I look at the seasons that have 3 subseasons. So today we are focusing on our true or warm spring. So that would mean the other 2 spring seasons are bright/clear spring. Then you'll have true warm spring, and then you will have light spring. So now we know a little bit more about the general overview about what seasonal color analysis is. What are some defining features of the true or warm spring seasonal palette? Warm spring is the original spring season. That means it is warmth. There is very little presence of cooler colors within the color palette. Even when you're looking at colors that are predominantly cool, such as your blues and purples, you will notice they have warmth to them. Your blues will look more like a kind of turquoisey or aquamarine blue versus something like a cold royal blue or a cobalt blue. Similar as with purples, they'll have a little bit more of the red added into them, which will take them more towards that violet spectrum. They'll almost look more of like a reddy purple versus a true blue purple like a grape. When we're looking at the seasonal flow chart, each season has a color season that it is in contrast with. The contrasting or opposite palette of the true summer would be the true or warm autumn. The biggest difference between these two, they are both very warm palettes, but true or warm spring has a clarity to it. There's a higher value in color, saturation, and chroma, whereas true or warm autumn, it is more muted. There is an element of gray added to everything to keep it feeling softer. When I was doing research into the seasonal color palette, I could find different skin tones, more people of color within the clear or bright spring or the light spring. Finding people who were not Caucasian in the true or warm spring color palette, I found possibly one, but even that was highly debated when I looked into the celebrity, which we'll talk about in just a moment. But for skin tones, I found various range of warm to neutral warm light skin tones, with eye colors ranging from warm blue, warm green to a warm lighter brown. Hair colors were warm blonde, strawberry blonde, ginger, and then light golden brown. So everything in this color palette is very light. There were no one feature getting very dark. Medium in color value was about as deep as I could find any features that went for this palette. Celebrity examples I found were Amy Adams, Brad Pitt, Cameron Diaz, Nicole Kidman, Owen Wilson, and the one maybe some people put there, but then most people put her somewhere else, was Tyra Banks. I found that some people put Tyra Banks in the summer palette, winter palette, autumn palette. So that just goes to show you how subjective these color analysis are. You can't really tell from a celebrity photo when you're looking at them what they really are, because with celebrities there is manipulation of skin tone with the makeup they wear, the feeling that they create with their clothing, the lighting. There's so many different variables. So whenever you see someone listing a celebrity as a reference in one of these videos or reading resources, just remember it's highly subjective, and unless someone is properly draped, you'll never know for sure. So something good to keep in mind. But if you are someone who knows of a non-Caucasian celebrity person who it would be fall into the true or warm spring category, please list them down below in the comment section. That would be very helpful to other people who view this video, as well as to me, because I would like to be more educated on learning the nuances in the different skin tones and color seasons. When we're looking at makeup, A good rule of thumb is a lot of your finishes are going to have more of a glossy reflectiveness versus a matte. The more bright, luminous, or dewy products and features are going to give you more of that overall bright clarity of the skin. It will just keep things feeling very fresh, whereas if you add a matte element, it can help, especially if you're someone who is very oily, but you might find that they can just make everything feel a little bit more flat. So looking for finishes that are more luminous or radiant or dewy might be a little bit more helpful for making your look feel more complete. So without further ado, let's jump right into the makeup tutorial. I've already done my base makeup off camera, so we can really focus on the colors in this look. So I'm gonna start by using my Chanel Ombre Premier, and this is in the shade 838 Ultra Flush. And I'm using this more as a base. With bright spring being a warmer season, it's the warmest of all of the spring seasons. I need to take a few extra measures to warm up my overall complexion because I don't have a lot of warmth within my natural coloring. So I am using this Ombre Premier shade from Chanel to brighten up and add a little bit of warmth to the eye area. I really want to capture the essence of the warmth, and this will also help to play off the green of my eyes. The Chanel Ombre Premier formula does dry down, so what I want to do is I'm going to take a clean brush. This is a BK Beauty A503, and the previous brush I used is a Japanese brush. It doesn't have a number on it, but it's a small synthetic kind of like flat shader or concealer brush. I'm going to use the BK Beauty just to smooth around the edges. I want to diffuse the shade that we have on the eyelids because with bright spring, even though it is a season with a lot of warmth, a lot of saturation, and there is more contrast, when you look at a lot of the references from kind of that mid or true spring season within nature, the contrast comes from the variations in colors. It doesn't really come from sharp lines. So I want to keep everything soft and flowing, but maintain that brightness. And when working with someone who has more of these color features, it will just feel more harmonious. It'll feel more true to life. For bronzer, I'm going to be using the Huda Beauty GloWish bronzer, and this is the shade 01 Light. I'm going to use a fluffy bronzer brush. This is a BK Beauty number 103, and I just want a tiny bit of bronzer. And once again, this is to help add the illusion of warmth. Keeping a very light hand, keeping it higher on the cheekbones, because I'm not trying to contour with this shade. Spring seasons aren't really a contour season. They are more so about that light brightness. The contrast coming more so from the colors that we choose versus adding a harsh line like a graphic liner or a cut contour. I'm gonna go back to my A503 and I'm gonna pick up a little bit more of that bronzer shade and I'm gonna run that right through my socket line. This doesn't need to be precise. We're just keeping a soft definition. And if you want to, like I do, I always like to lift that outer corner of the eye just a bit. So now we're going to start with our kind of layered cheek look. And this is something that when I was looking at my color examples and gathering references and ideas for this look, I kept seeing this really beautiful, washed, radiant look to the cheeks. And I was like, I want to create that. I'm going to start with the Clinique. This is the Powder Pop Flower Highlight in Lunar Pop. This is a pale, warm gold. And I'm going to use an e.l.f. highlighting brush. And I'm going to take this high on my cheekbones, work it into the temple. This is going to be a very broad placement. Normally, I keep my highlight quite confined to a certain area. But with this look, it's all about that light, bright warmth. This highlighter is warmer than my skin tone, and it has a brightness that is going to contrast my skin tone, which is going to help give me this pop we're starting to see. To continue with our layered look, I'm going to use one of my all-time favorite products, and that is the MAC Extra Dimension Blush in the shade Fairly Precious. I'm going to continue on with my little e.l.f. brush, and I'm going to keep this towards the back of my cheek. When I worked at MAC, anytime I was working with a client who was looking for something a little bit more orangey or they had that warmer skin tone that this color would do really well with, I always reached for this. This is that perfect hybrid between a blush and a highlight. And if you want to use a blush and a highlight that are just really contrasting, they don't quite flow together nicely on the cheeks, or you apply them and you feel like you can just really see where one starts and one stops, this is a great product for merging or transitioning the colors together. Definitely adding some warmth to the cheek, but if you are someone who falls into any of the spring or autumn color families and you like a blush that could almost teeter on the edge of being a highlighter and you like something a little orange, this is stunning. I love it so much. And even though it's something that's not best suited towards my skin tone, I will not part with this anytime soon. Now, to add in the blush color to really anchor everything down, Laura Mercier Color Infusion Blush. This is in the shade Watermelon. I'm gonna start by kind of pressing and working into the front of my cheek, and then little circular motions, really going over everything we've applied. Then I can go back and buff. And I'm gonna start working this into the temples with whatever is left from the cheek. There is something about all of the spring color palettes that I find them so enchanting. The color palettes, they just have so much warmth. They're so just bright and jovial. They're just such happy palettes. And if you look at online, like do what I did and Google like true or warm spring celebrities or any of the spring color family celebrities, there's just something just so bright and warm about people with this coloring, and it's very, very captivating. It's very captivating in a demure way. It's very pretty. I'm gonna take a BK Beauty number A501 and I'm gonna take a little bit more of that blush color and I'm gonna work that right over the eyelid. And then I'm gonna go over the top with something a little bit more exciting. And that product is one from the brand Lorac. This is the Lorac, oh, what are they called? All right, it doesn't have a product name on it. I think it's like the Luxe Diamond Shadows, but everything will be linked down below. This is in the shade Lace, and I really like to work it onto my finger and then press. Such a beautiful light reflect. That's a really good shimmer. I'm gonna take my brush and just soften the edges. I'm gonna keep brows pretty simple. I'm gonna use my Refi Beauty brow pencil. This is in the shade Light. This is also a really nice brow pencil. In general, the formula is great. The consistency is really nice. For my personal coloring, this pulls a little too warm, but if you are someone who has more warmth in your hair color and your brow color, I feel like you might really like this. But for me, this gives me just enough to warm up my brow tone to make it more believable with the rest of the look. For lips, I'm gonna be starting off with the Laura Mercier Longwear Lip Liner in the shade Rosewood. And instead of removing the balm that I have on my lips, I'm going to use that as a base. To make your lip pencil a little slippery, it's not going to lock down, but it's gonna give the overall kind of feeling of something a little bit softer. This lip pencil is quite nice, but in combination with the natural color of my lips, it's a little bit more muted. However, Laura Mercier does have another lip pencil in this range. If you are someone who is in any of the spring color family and you want a nice neutral lip pencil with some warmth, I would highly suggest this lip pencil in the shade Baby Lips. It is a lip pencil I owned, and then last year when I was doing my declutter series, I didn't reach for it because it's not a color that works well for me, and I had no idea I was gonna be doing this series. So when I went to go do this video, I was looking for that pencil. I was like, oh no, I decluttered it. So such is life. Now to really add the pop look, add that contrast with color, I'm gonna be using the Lisa Eldridge Gloss Embrace in the shade Go Lightly. I wanna take down some of the shine on my skin, that way it doesn't look greasy. So I'm gonna use a pressed powder to buff with a little bit of a light reflect. This is the MAC Mineralized Skin Finish Natural in the shade Light Plus. I'm gonna use a very large brush. This is one from IT Cosmetics, the Heavenly Luxe Jumbo Powder Brush number 3. This powder has a little too much warmth by way of like a yellowy, peachy undertone for me to use in my everyday life. But for a look like this, for what you can see on the camera, this will be a great product to pull the look together. Where I'm warming things up, my under eye, the natural kind of blueness from my under eyes is wanting to peek through because everything's contrasting it. I'm gonna take a Charlotte Tilbury powder and sculpt brush, a little bit more of that powder, just gonna go through and brighten that up a little bit. To lock everything in place, I'm going to be using my Morphe Continuous Setting Mist. I'm going to be using my Ramond Han All Fix. A shade like this, it's a little bit more muted, so this is better suited for people in more of like that soft autumn into the summers. But the ideal shade of mascara for someone who is in the spring season would be more of like a rich kind of chestnutty brown or a black brown. However, black mascara is such a prevalent thing. If you like black mascara, black eyeliner, go with it. So this is going to finish off our true or warm spring makeup look. All the products that I used and the tools I used will be listed in the description box down below. I love this look. I know it's something where the shades aren't the best suited for me, but I just really love just the jovial, warm, and overall happy feeling of the seasonal color palette. It's just really, I find it quite enchanting. If you know of any examples of celebrities that are a warm or true spring in their coloring that are not Caucasian, let me know in the description box down below, because when I was searching, I could not find any. So I want to keep this as inclusive and as helpful for as many people as possible. That would be very helpful information in the description box down below. And with these colors, if there's a color or there's a look that you like and you're trying to create this on a skin tone that's darker than mine, all you need to remember is as the skin tone gets deeper, the saturation and intensity of the pigment needs to get darker. Instead of using a soft gold, you might need more of a true gold. Instead of, if you want more of a peachy cheek, you might need to use more of a true orange versus a pale peach. You just need to adjust the intensity of the color to adapt for the skin tone that you're working with. So if you found this video helpful and enjoyable, make sure you give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and share it with a friend that you think might enjoy it. I will see you all in the next video, and I hope you all are taking care of yourselves. Have a great rest of the day, y'all. Bye.